Welcome back. I'm Michael Smith, editor of the Galveston County Daily News. I'm here at the C-Star base in Galveston with my co-moderator, Gina Spagnola of the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce. And we're about to continue our candidate interviews with two of the three candidates for District 5. One candidate could not attend. We're here in a big room with a few people and everybody's spread out following the COVID protocols. And I'll let Gina pick it up from here to get us rolling.
Well, just thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for being here. I know everyone's busy, and we just thank you for taking time to tell us your story and to be able to have this time with your constituents to tell us about your platform. So you drew on who goes first. So Mr. Rollins, we're going to start with you on your platform and why you're running for the important seat of District 5. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you,
and look
Michael.
at the camera because you're talking to them. I know it's hard. It's really
I'll look at
difficult.
y'all first. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Michael, for putting this together with the Chamber and the Daily News. My name is Bo Rollins. I am running for District 5 City Council in the city of Galveston. I am a long-standing resident of Galveston. My family's been there since the late 1880s. I have extensive background in leadership in Galveston through several organizations. Planning Commission Leadership Galveston, as well as spending 9.5 years on the GISD school board. I've raised 3 kids here. Currently have one that's graduated from A&M and moved back to Galveston in construction management. Have a second at Galveston A&M, and my senior little girl is at Ball High. They are a huge reason of why I want to ensure that Galveston stays a place that families and people that decide to raise their kids in Galveston always have a comfortable place to be with a great quality of life. I want to combine my background in that leadership on the school district with growing up in Galveston and feeling like I have a pulse of this community together to prove that Galveston is one of the best places in the state of Texas to live in. I feel that currently we're making progress. We're at a crossroads of somewhat of an identity crisis with determining who City of Galveston wants to be in combination of creating a livable community and balancing that with being a community that's completely reliant on the tourism industry. And I hope to be that person that combines those two to create a balance through my leadership on District 5 City Council. Thank you.
Mr. Listowski.
My name is John Listowski. I'm the current City Council District Rep for District 5. I want to thank the Galveston Chamber of Commerce and the Daily News for hosting this event. It's great to get our views out and let the people see us in this time of COVID where we have a hard time making our voice heard. I'll start with, I've served on council now for 2 years, and my first day on council, first meeting, I said that, I was up there to make Galveston a better place and to make Galveston a place that I want to raise my family. And since then, a lot has happened. My wife and I have had our first child, Lily, and it's even more important to continue that and try to make this place the best place to live and work as possible. And I think we've done a good job at that over the last 2 years. We continue to see amazing amounts of improvements to the city. Our infrastructure continues to get better and better. We've got major projects going on, more infrastructure projects than we've had in probably in the history of Galveston. And so I'd just like to continue that. I think, when I ran the first time, it was on issues dealing with police pension, infrastructure, and economic development. We did a great job, I think, in solving our police pension plan problems and got that on a firm footing. Economic development is still a big priority in town. We'll continue to make strides in that direction. And then infrastructure, talked a little bit about that. And then I think, it is becoming an issue of quality of life on the island, and we need to find a balance between our tourism and our full-time residents that live and work here. And so that's probably what I'll be focusing on for the next 2 years.
Before we go, though,
Yeah.
I was remiss in not mentioning the candidate who's not here. That's Robert Patrick Daigle couldn't attend. So just for consistency's sake.
Yes, thank you. So you drew number 1, Mr. Rollins. So we'll start with you, and then we'll rotate. I would like for you to describe District 5 for us. What does that look like? And if you were to get appointed and in 2 years you look back, what do you want to see in District 5? What's success look like for that? But what is it currently? Give us kind of a rundown of the makeup.
District 5, of course, to me, as a member of District 5, I feel that District 5 is a complete face of the island community. District 5 is, to me, what would be considered the core of Galveston. It simply has a little bit of it all. We have very established neighborhoods that, there were established neighborhood criteria that are important to those people that are longstanding residents of those neighborhoods. We have multiple Section 8 rental units that are throughout District 5. It incorporates up to the seawall with many small businesses as well as corporate level businesses, which includes our tourism state. So there's many aspects of District 5 that incorporates what a council member would represent. And the important leadership quality in that position would be someone that can create a balance, that has sensitivity to all those issues, and has the ability not only to discuss, but to implement things that we can follow through on. It is an area, District 5 is an area that has a lot of opportunity to answer that question and that thorn of middle income housing. There are lots of vacant buildings in that area that I would look to create an opportunity with GEDP. It's a district that I see has the ability to grow further than any other districts as far as positive growth and what we can do to represent Galveston even better.
Thank you. Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I think I've got it. I'll start out by saying, I think District 5 is the best district on the island. It's the first district people see when they come onto the island. Geographically, it starts at the Causeway, takes in the Channel View area north of I-45, comes down to 61st Street, goes up to Stewart or S, goes over to 35th Street, down to 75th Street, back down Pine to Driftwood area, and then back around the bayou to the Titeman area. It's a great district. It houses probably the majority of our working class families within this district. I think that's one thing that we need to protect. We need to find that balance between tourism and our full-time residents. We need to protect our neighborhoods within those districts because it has great neighborhoods. We've got the Denver Court area, Palm Circle, Colony Park, Titeman, Channel View, and several great neighborhoods in between that are kind of the heart of our island. And, I think being a council person in District 5, it's mainly about protecting the neighborhoods and then just taking care of people's needs. And it's the small things, it's responding to when somebody has a pothole in front of their house, or their drains are stopped up, or their trash is not picked up because we have a hurricane coming in, and it was the last day on the route before the hurricane got in. And it's just being there to respond to those issues. And so I am very proud to be the rep for this district, and hope to continue to serve my constituents within the district.
Thank you.
Kind of following on your opening statements, but a little bit more specifically, if you could, and I think you have this first one, Mr. Listowski. What are the main issues in this election, specifically to District 5? What are the things, the priorities to address, and also for the city at large?
Well, I think my previous statement answers a lot of that, but again, it's protecting those neighborhoods. You know, District 5 is not a district that has a lot of undeveloped areas or land, and it's got neighborhoods that are house, you know, some of the best neighborhoods on the island, and so protection of those neighborhoods is a main priority for the district. The rest of the island, you know, we need to just make sound decisions, and again, that quality of life issue is going to come into play. You know, Galveston is an island that I think has recently been found. You know, we've got 6 million people 45 minutes up the road, and we're starting to see those people come to the island on a regular basis. And so we need to find that balance again of quality of life for our residents and support our tourist industry, which is one of the main industries of our economy.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins?
Well, I think it goes to even a bigger picture than that. Something that I mentioned, I think the city of Galveston is going through an identity crisis. You know, do we fall into the side of looking out for the VRBOs and for the tourist industry as a central focus? Or do we create multi-levels of protection for our neighborhoods and for our citizens? And of course, the big question is what is that balance? With District 5, we have so many established neighborhoods. We have Denver Court, Colony Park, the Tiedemann Road area. We have multiple Section 8 rental units that have been established over 2 decades. And there's a simple balance in between those two. You know, one of the biggest things that I feel is ultra important is to incorporate support of our school district and realizing that there has to be a partnership that is created for a long term with that. District 5, you know, as we've both mentioned, has multiple established neighborhoods, which means a huge opportunity for families to come in to Galveston and have a place to purchase and a place to send their children, a safe place. One of the things that I feel is really important as a person that lives in Colony Park, we see very few police officers that are able to come through there. And it's not that they're not doing their job, it's just simply that I think they're overwhelmed. And they're overwhelmed because they're having to pay attention to the influx of people that we have over each weekend and over holidays with the tourism industry. We're behind in hiring those officers. We're not at the quota that we need to be at. And so simply creating a safety in those neighborhoods is extremely important to me and one of my biggest issues.
Thank y'all. As you know, because you're both business owners and you started within your young careers or whatever, you've been a part of the chamber and you're very much aware of our mission of promoting and advocating primarily for small business. 75% of our members, you know, are small business. How do you think we've handled small business issues and their voices, and primarily having a seat at the table with the city? And so when the discussions were going on, the absence of us being there representing the small businesses, how does that feel and how does that happen? And I'll ask you because you're currently there, not that you're making all those decisions, and you, if we were going through future things, but having that seat so that the small businesses' voices feel like they're being heard. And you're first this time. Yeah.
Quite honestly, Gina, the chamber has been the only voice at the table lately. As a business owner with 3 doors that have been permanently closed, not permanently closed, but closed through COVID over the last 6 months, I have felt abandoned by our governor. I have felt abandoned by the multiple stipulations that were created to allow myself to qualify for several of the loans that were sent out. And without the chamber's voice, I quite honestly feel we'd have no voice. And so I commend the chamber on that. I look forward to some type of implementation of the things that the chamber has put out there. It's been an extremely difficult time for many people like myself with small businesses. We've had to be very creative in making sure that we have that opportunity to open our doors when we're allowed to. I think that's a big part of why I can represent District 5 so well, beside being a lifetime Galvestonian and having the background with the school district I have. That small business aspect, which is a core of our community, and having that representation from the chamber, without that partnership, quite honestly, I think we would never be heard.
Thank you. Tempo.
Could you repeat that question real quick?
Yeah, no, the concern, and these questions were formulated from our members, but just the concern of, I don't know who puts, I don't know if that's the city manager, if you even have a part as the council person, but in making those decisions, and I'll just put, for instance, the chamber finding out at 5 till 5 on the Wednesday before the 4th of July that the beaches were going to be closed, and we had answered literally about, but we've got the exact number, about 412 calls that day telling people, not that that's a bad decision, I'm not debating that, it's just we weren't at the table. There were various other people at the table, and it's just, you know, our businesses were distraught about that. And so, you know, I want to see people there that would notice that. Where's the business community? Where's Gina? Where's somebody from the chamber? And I just wanted to know first, does council are you there at the table when those decisions are made, or how do we move forward so that those mistakes don't happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, not pointing the finger at
No.
you, it's just, it was a concern to the business community.
Yeah, I'll start by one of the first somewhat controversial issues on council when I first got elected was the city wanted to basically standardize and have one provider for trash services on the island for commercial businesses. And that was something that I worked with the chamber on and was against. I think people need the ability to choose or have choices. And so that was one of the first issues that I really took a stand on at council to help support the local businesses. We defeated that ordinance and it didn't pass. And so businesses have the right to choose their provider to haul their trash off. So that's just one example of the items that we see at council, and I think I've shown that I'm pro-business and support our businesses and are there to look out for them. You know, the COVID issue, as Gina mentioned, with the closing of the businesses in beaches during the 4th of July weekend, you know, that was under a executive order. So unfortunately, at a council level, we did not have a vote on that. And, you know, the COVID issue has definitely thrown a wrench into the whole way government works. You know, we basically have 3 people that are calling the shots for us: our president, our governor, and our mayor. And so it almost takes the voice out of the people when we're at a time of crisis like this. we need to get through this issue as quickly as possible and get that decision-making power back to the people and as a city council on a whole. And we're trying to do that as quickly as possible and safely as possible. So I would say I'm definitely pro-business. I support the chamber and small businesses. I am one of those small business owners, and our small business owners are citizens here in Galveston. So not only do we need to support the businesses, we need to support the citizens of the community.
Thank you.
I think you're up again. And this question kind of follows on something that Mr. Rollins said mentioned in his opening, but I think it's relevant, and maybe especially to District 5. So what can or even should the city do to help promote creation of middle income or workforce housing on the island? Does the city have a role in that?
Yeah, I think the city does have a role in that, and it's an issue that I think will span several different solutions and opportunities, and as our real estate prices continue to go up, it is going to get more and more expensive to live here. We've got, like I said before, we've got 6 million people living up the road, and they have discovered Galveston, which is a good thing. But because of that, real estate prices are going up. Cost of construction is going up, cost of living is going up, which makes it difficult to have middle income housing here on the island, and definitely workforce housing on the island. I think there are incentives to be given to show that, but I also think that we need to look off the island to provide some of this housing. Not only do we need to be focusing on things here on the island, but a 15 or 20-minute commute is not something that is unconscionable to have to do to commute from the place where you live to the place where you work. People make much longer commutes in bigger cities. So I think it's a great question. It definitely needs more discussion. There are lots of options out there. We need to have a very broad scope when we look at this, not only here on the island, but on the mainland as well. And we definitely need to find those houses.
Mr. Rollins?
Dynamically, there's a lot involved with than just the creation of housing. If we look at our school district, I don't know the exact current state, but it's within the high 70s, 76 to 77% free and reduced lunch, which dynamically and demographically will tell us that in the immediate sense, we have a lot of residents that fall into the lower income bracket. And so the first thing we got to do is create opportunity that's consistent. I think that the GDP could, with 2 decades of research and the amount of times that we've done housing studies, which I know of at least 3 housing studies we've done, possibly more, that we've never fully implemented and pushed through on action. But I think it's a 2-level situation. We've got to create opportunity and jobs, and I think we have a ton of opportunity with the mass exodus of corporations that are tailing out of Chicago, New York, California, looking for places in Texas to establish their business, and what we have to offer as a state. I think that Galveston is a hotbed for that. We have multiple vacant buildings downtown that could house tons of those corporations, as well as Pelican Island. I do think that we have the ability. There is great partnerships that can be established with vacant land that we still have, that once we've established and brought down and brought our lower income up to a point to where they are able to purchase homes, I think there's a lot of partnerships that can be created. And so that's what I would look to implement and to support.
Thank you. You're both developers. So, and I know we've been here for decades talking. I was actually going back into an opening speech. I think it was Armand Cantini when he was the chair of the chamber, and the issues were litter, the cleanliness of the beaches, and middle-income housing. And that was years and years ago. It's always a topic of discussion. But I want y'all to sort of take us through, you know, we can talk about it. We've been talking about it. There's been 40 reports probably done on middle-income housing. But isn't it true? And talk about the expense. We've got 32 miles. We're very limited in our space. We're an island. We're a tourist spot. Isn't it much more costly to build on a barrier island than when you do go down the street? So isn't the reality that it's hard to make, depending on what you consider middle-income housing? Is that 150,000? Is it 200? But talk a little bit about the reality of that it's much more expensive to build. And so how do we go, you know, how do we deal with that when we're considering middle-income housing? Does that make sense? You know, everybody wants it, but it's expensive to build it. So what's that price point to get that family down here?
If we take a comparison of a cost to build in Galveston and the building standards that we as builders in Galveston, a Galveston project, compared to those standards on the mainland, they're not even in the same ballpark. And as far as to address what you mentioned about developments, you know, developers look at being able to take a piece of property and utilize it to their benefit as an investment, and that balance is when you're only going one story is hard to attain. And so we've got to look at having an ability to, whether it's to create multi-level townhomes, so that we can make the most of the small footprint that we have here in Galveston, and in turn help to balance those construction costs out. Typically, you know, a square foot cost here in Galveston is $180 to $250 a square foot. You know, we can go up to the mainland in League City where we're going to be close to sub $100 a square foot. And so, honestly, that's just not a comparison. But luckily, the values that you establish here in Galveston, you always get a return. The problem is having that return equate to middle-income housing. And so I think that having the ability to partner with those plots that we have that have been established through the GDP, that have been established ad nauseum, they could recite it when they're going to sleep of exactly where they are, the square footage, and everything in between. Actually following through and denoting those as only in an area that we could give certain benefits to developers to develop those houses, specifically earmarked by amounts for middle-income housing.
Thank you. Mr. Listowski?
Simple answer is yes. It costs more to build here on the island. And that's for many reasons. You know, construction costs are not greatly different than on the mainland, depending on where you are on the mainland. Main cost of the overall cost of the home is probably the real estate costs, which differ greatly from the island to the mainland. And that's something that's going to continue to go up as people continue to find Galveston. People want second homes down here. More short-term rentals are established, and those are things that drive real estate cost up and drive up the end value of the house that we can build down here. So, you know, how do you try to make that more affordable? Density, one, you know, you take a piece of land and you put more units on that piece of land to try to reduce the overall cost of the project. You know, there are certain ways you can subsidize some of the construction costs, but you know that may not be the right thing to do or the best. You know, people might not look favorable on the city actually subsidizing housing down here. So, you know, it is going to get more expensive to live down here. There's no doubt about that. And it's something that we have to deal with. We need to be creative. We need to look at the mainland and keep a broad eye on different ways to try to keep it affordable. Not only, you know, and once you actually have something that is affordable down here, there's the whole other aspect of additional cost once you buy property. You know, we pay flood insurance, we pay windstorm insurance, and so those are things that add cost to the island, living on the island that you may not have on the mainland.
Thank you. Didn't we start at 10:15? An hour. Okay. Well, I think we've got 10
Keeping y'all
minutes.
entertained,
We've
I
got
bet.
10 minutes, so we've got some time. We got one more and then a closing.
I think you're up again, Mr. Listowski is next.
The one who finishes gets to go first.
Yeah,
We
I'll-
learned that yesterday.
I can't remember it.
I
though.
know.
Well,
It's
this
difficult.
kind of follows on what you were talking about, the high cost of living. And it's not something that a district councilman can solve, granted, but it is something that the city itself might be able to influence in some way. So the question is, one of the pressures that people everywhere, and especially in Galveston maybe, and especially in some of those established neighborhoods that you guys were talking about, is the ever-increasing assessment of property value, especially on residential property. And so the question is, do you think that the current system for assessing that value is as fair as it could be? Does it favor commercial property, for example, and penalize residential property? Do you see any room for reform in there? And is there, if there is an opportunity for reform, should the city be involved in trying to do that?
Well, so you know, assessing property values is under the purview of the Central Appraisal District, which is a little bit out of our council purview, but I think, you know, we have seen values continue to go up year after year, and that is, you know, one of the issues that is causing that is people continuing to come down to the island, realizing what a great place it is to live and work, and just paying more for our property down here. We do have great programs like the homestead program and the 65 plus tax breaks or freezes. We could look into some additional measures like those programs to try to reduce overall tax burden. You know, do I think that the values have been assessed fairly? I think that for the most part, they probably have. I think there's still a lot of property out there that is probably too low. Some of the structures that people have set on for years, they have fallen in disrepair. They continue to sit that way because their tax value is low, and they don't mind paying the taxes each year to continue to sit on that property and not make repairs on it. I think those are the properties that we really need to look at and see if the values are assessed correctly, and try to get those properties rehabbed back to a correct assessed value, so the citizens can benefit from that.
I think a simple answer is that first off, on the reform, I think there's a huge opportunity for reform. When our county tax assessor, Ms. Cheryl Johnson, is holding seminars on how to lower your appraisal values, I can pretty much assume that there's plenty of room for reform. You know, yesterday the county they lowered their tax rate down 4 cents. And I know that the city council here in Galveston is looking to lower it 2 cents. But in relation to our rising values, and again, it's not just here in Galveston, family that I have on the mainland in Santa Fe, it's just a moving target. You have no clue what the assessment is going to be each year. You know, a raw piece of property that goes up by $60,000 in a year with really no reason for it, just almost like a blanket assessment, to me there's a lot of room for reform. We can continue to lower taxes, but when the values in relation to that are so imbalanced, the county and the city lowering taxes is not really going to have a huge effect. I do feel that a lot of things like the second home market that's so established here in Galveston now, as well as short-term rentals, have really hiked up our values. The investors are not afraid to spend money on these homes, and they're not afraid to create double the value of these homes to do the short-term rental. And I think at some point in time, we've got to realize that balance and how we oversee that policy has got to be something that becomes important to us in local leadership.
Thank you, sir.
We have time for one more question and then closing statements. Okay. Which issue/opportunity involving the Port of Galveston would you make a priority? Same question with Pelican Island. Which issue and/or opportunity for the Port of Galveston and Pelican Island would be your priorities? And we start back with you. You last to speak, Bo.
Mr. Rollins.
Yeah, Mr. Rollins.
You know, the Port of Galveston, you know, obviously we are being handicapped at the moment by COVID, but obviously there's a lot of opportunity. I think the opportunity at the port is wide open, not only in the area of cruise ships, but we have a lot of an influx of interest and demand as far as our Rolo business there in the port. And so I think supporting what they've created in their leadership and making sure that we partner with them at the council level is super important. There in the Pelican Island area, I think that's our hidden gem of opportunity of not only establishing a business arena there, but I think that's our area. That's our area that we can look at developing homes that might be the next opportunity for middle-income housing. You know, I talked to Lamson DeWin about his apartment complex that he did there. It's only 50% rented at the time, and so I know that there's opportunity, and there's places or people like him, people that love investing in Galveston. We've got to strive to support someone like himself that reached out and went into a deep venture. Galveston A&M has done a great job of marketing to their marketing to get more students, and thus creating opportunity for us as a community to have long-standing residents, hopefully when they graduate and establish something in the maritime industry. But we've just got to make sure that we support people like Lamson, who goes out and creates a big venture like that to not only house Galveston A&M students, but to also market throughout our entire Galveston community.
Thank you.
Great question. To start off, the port is one of our biggest economic engines in town, and it has such opportunity. Recently we've learned during COVID that we need to stay diverse. We have a big focus on the cruise industry right now. I think we will benefit from that in the future, and I hope to see the Royal Caribbean deal work out and hopefully start construction on the new terminal sometime next year. But with that said, diversity is the key here. You can't go into a venture like this with this kind of money and not stay diverse. We're learning that firsthand. So we need to continue with our cargo industry, create new ventures out there with cargo and other assets that the port has. And it can be an amazing venture for Galveston and the island in general. Pelican Island, the key to Pelican Island is the bridge. And we have taken the first step in pledging $5 million through the IDC. And we are committed to that. And I think that is really the key to develop Pelican Island. From that, I think we can establish additional businesses over there. But it's going to take a lot of money. I mean, the port business in general is not a cheap business to be in, and it takes a tremendous amount of infrastructure needs. And so we need to be looking for opportunities, kind of as a private public partnership, and trying to develop Pelican Island and really capture the values that I think we'll see there in the future.
So I think now you each have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and I guess you're up, Mr. Listowski. Okay. Sorry. You're up, Mr. Rollins.
So Bo Rollins is running for District 5 City Council. I want to be a catalyst to lead District 5. I can only be 1/7 of a vote in our current leadership layout, but I want to be 1/7 of a vote that is able to pull and create synergy amongst the other council members and the mayor. I feel that my background with the school district, being a lifetime Galvestonian, feeling like I have a pulse of this community, both from the very bottom all the way to the top, and bringing all of those core groups together to the table. Not just in discussion about ideas, but actually following through and implementing those ideas that are on the table. I want to make sure that people of Galveston know that they matter, I know that they matter with me, not just our visitors, but we've got to stick with a core group of Galvestonians and know that they've got leadership in place that has their back and will go to bat for them. And that's what Bo Rollins will get done for you as a District 5 City Council member. I appreciate your vote. I appreciate this time today being heard. We've kind of been in the closet for a while with COVID. I'm glad that we're getting out, and I'm glad that y'all kicked this off so we can get this going again. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Again, my name is John Paul Listowski. I am your current District 5 Council representative. It's been an honor to serve in this position over the last 2.5 years, and I look forward to serve another term. I guess we of course we don't do this for the fame or the glory or the salary. We do it because we love our community, and it's been great serving on council with the other council members. I think we have a great team in place. We don't always see eye to eye, but we discuss the issues. We have different views, and then we take a vote, and I think it's been the best for Galveston so far. I'd like to continue to do that. And I'd just like to thank the Chamber and the News again for hosting this event. So I look forward to seeing more and ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate you being here. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. Take a break. We'll be back. What time, Robert? 11:15. We'll be finishing up with District 6. So thank you so much. I hope you've learned a whole lot more about these two gentlemen that would be serving District 5 and this city. Go out and vote. It's important. Encourage everyone to go out. That's how you'll be heard. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We are so grateful to the C-Star Base Galveston for allowing us to host these candidate forums here in their beautiful facility. So thank you so much, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with District 6.